Hey everyone, my name's Kelvin, and I'm going to quickly show you how you can make a tribal themed mandala just like this one. The first thing you want to do is download that folder from Creative Market, and then go ahead and unzip it. So inside that folder, there's a few different files and a README. This first file here, this is the actual Mandala Creator Pro, and we'll open that by dragging it into Illustrator. I'm going to film this video in Creative Cloud Illustrator, but this add-on works fine in CS5 and CS6. So after the template gets loaded, it'll look just like this. The next thing we'll get is the brushes. They're built into this template, so you can just go to Window, Brushes, and there they are, 100 tribal themed brushes. I've organized these by type and complexity. You can use any of these patterns at any point in the mandala. But I just designed some, like the C's here, for example. These are specifically designed for the center of the mandala, the very first stage. And then they're kind of organized by simple, medium complexity, and then super complex. So we got some arches here, and then the last ones here are flares, just the kind of patterns that kind of stick out. They don't really have a border, and they work well if you combine them with other patterns or with the arches. So all these brushes work with the action scripts. So we'll load the action scripts. Window here, actions. If you see any actions here, I recommend that you clear those, just like this. And then we can load actions by going to load actions. And the actions we want are the file number 2, the Tribal Mandala Toolkit. And there they are. If they don't look like this, if they don't look color-coded, button mode probably isn't enabled. So if you open them up and they look just like this, go to the little menu and then button mode, and they'll look just like this. So there's quite a few actions here. You may not use all of them. I'm just going to make a mandala, like a test mandala, as a demonstration, and then I'll explain what these different actions do as I go. So to start a mandala, we'll click this first script, and then while that's selected, we can choose any of these centers. So these C brushes here, these I just made these with the center in mind, but you could use any other brush to make a center. These ones just have a little more of a complete pattern that goes all the way to the middle, whereas a lot of these other ones, if you use them, they'll just be a border. So I'll choose, I think I'll choose that one. That's all right. And then to add a new ring to the mandala, we'll use this first green script, this duplicate ring. And that'll make a copy of the original ring that was selected. It'll move it to the back and make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. But it's still hidden a bit, so I'll grow it so you can see it better. So this second script here, this is grow ring. And this is how you'll change the scale of the rings, depending on your own preference. So we'll make that a little bigger, and then I'll choose another pattern. I could use any of these center brushes again, but I think I'll choose something. How about some triangles? And that's a little bit big, so I can use the shrink ring script. There we go, that's all right. I'll add another ring, duplicate ring, and then I'll choose a different brush. Maybe something a little more complicated. How about that one? There we go. None of these scripts will work if nothing is selected. So if you try to run a script, it'll just throw an error while nothing is selected. But you can also select previous rings, like this one with the triangles, and I can modify that one a little bit. And this way you can sort of fine-tune the different rings. Let's see. That's all right. We'll add another ring. And I'll choose something, maybe a little border. Now, I've got some scripts down here, these shrink pattern and grow pattern. These shrink and grow the pattern, but they also multiply the instances. So if I want to make this design a little bit smaller, I can use the shrink pattern script, and that'll double it. So we have a little finer pattern. Okay, that's nice. I'll add another ring here. Now since it's just copied this ring, any pattern I apply to this one will be doubled as well, but we can undouble it. So here we go. I'll select that pattern, those triangles. There's too many. It's been doubled, so I can grow it back. There. Shrink. That's all right. Duplicate it again, and I'll use an arch, I think, at this point. These ones work really well for sort of framing another pattern in. Okay. Add another ring. How about that one? And I'd like this to line up a little bit differently. So these scripts here, these are rotating scripts. So I can rotate a pattern 45 degrees. I can rotate it 22 and a half and then 11 and a quarter degrees. And you'll just use these to sort of line up different aspects of the patterns with other patterns. And this is how you can combine multiple patterns to make your own totally unique patterns. Let's shrink that one. I think I'll finish this one up with a little border. Okay. This pattern's pretty big, so I'll shrink it. And once you're finished, once you're happy with your mandala, we can use the cleanup script. Right now, all the lines are different thicknesses, and it's not really consistent. Before you run this cleanup script, you might make a few adjustments. Maybe change that a little bit. There we go. And then just run this first cleanup script. And when it's all done, it'll deselect it. And then at this point, you get a look at the final mandala, and you might notice something. Like, for example, this pattern is kind of intersecting another line, so I'd like to grow this. So right now it's been expanded and turned into lines, but I can undo the cleanup pattern and make a little modification. So I'll run this undo cleanup pattern script. It'll turn it back into brushes, and then I could make a little modification. I think I'll shrink that one actually. There we go. We'll run the cleanup pattern script again. So this is our final mandala. If you were making a coloring book or something and you want to export this as an image, I recommend doing it in a different document. So we'll go to File, New. I think 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels is pretty good. And then we can select this mandala and we can copy it. We can scale it up a little bit here too. If you want to change the width of this stroke here, you can select the mandala, and then up here where it says stroke, you can type in a number. It'll usually be blank because there's several different kind of stroke styles going on in here. But if you want it to be a 2-point stroke, you could enter 2, enter, and then it'll apply to a 2-point stroke to everything in this mandala that has a stroke. If you just scroll through here up and down like that, then you risk accidentally giving it a 0-point stroke, which clears the styles, and that might later on give you some weird artifacts. Like for example, this element here, it doesn't have a stroke, but if you accidentally clear all the graphic styles for this and then add a 1-point stroke, you'll see a line appearing there. So to export this, I recommend saving for web. So let's, for example, if you're using this to make a coloring book, you'd go to Save for Web, and then save this as a PNG. And 3,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels is a pretty good resolution. And then you'd include this image in the PDF or whichever file that you're uploading to the publisher. So we'll cancel that. And that's a pretty good overview of how we use these scripts to make just a basic mandala. I included some feather vector illustrations, and those are for making like a dream catcher. So I'll show you how to do that next here. So we'll go back to the original document. We'll move this one a little bit up, and then we'll open those 17 feather vectors. So File, Open, 17 tribal feathers, and we'll choose a few of them. one's nice. That one, and that one. And we'll copy them. There they are. So at the very bottom of these Mandala scripts, I included a list of these gray scripts. And these are just shortcuts to stuff that's already in the menu. It's just to speed up your workflow a little bit. And I made these with the feathers in mind. They'll help you modify them and move them around. So if you want to just scale or shrink them on one of these feathers just a little bit, you can use these first scripts, shrink and grow. You can make a copy, a duplicate. It'll just place a copy right next to it. And then you can use the flip script to quickly mirror it. Rotate, and then move to front, move to back. This will just help you just in case your feathers are sort of stacked on top and you want to change the order. And then copy and paste. And then this last script, that just selects any brushes that happen to be unexpanded, and then it just expands those. And we'll use that. I'll show you how that works when I make the little ropes that'll connect the feathers to this mandala. I'll get rid of the extra feather and scale these up a little bit. I think I might flip that one. Now I'm going to use the pen tool to draw some ropes, and I'll use these pattern brushes. So we'll just make a little simple line there. And then I'll select one of these pattern brushes, something that looks kind of like a rope. That one's okay. Now it's pretty small, so I'll scale up the stroke like this. Not too big. Right now it's covering up the feather and the mandala. So while that's selected, I'll run the move to back script. Just like that. And a few more strings for these little feathers. Okay, we'll send that one to the back. And the last rope here. There we go. And once you're happy with the arrangement, we can select this last script here, this expand brushes, and that'll automatically select any live brushes, expand them, and then that'll allow us to make the stroke width of these match the rest of the mandala. So right now the lines are really fine. So after you run that script, you can select the ropes and then give them a 1-point stroke so they match the other elements. And it's coming out just a little bit there, so I'll select that and use the eraser tool to kind of erase that edge. And just double check it here. That looks all right. Then you'd export this one just like you would the other one. We'll select it all. We'll copy it. Get rid of this one. And just like that. And you'd export it using the Save for Web into whatever kind of image you need for your project. Same thing, also you can change the stroke width just like this. You can give it a little bit of a thicker stroke. And there, I think that's a pretty good overview of this Tribal Edition Mandala Creator. If you guys have got any questions, you can leave a comment or send me an email directly. But other than that, guys, thanks for your support and thanks for watching.